Hi, welcome to Insights with Nandu. We live in a time of incredible disruption. In 1920s, the average expected life of a company on the S&P 500 index was 90 years. By the 1960s, this had dropped already to 60 years. Today, the average expected life of the 500 biggest companies in the world is only about 15 years. Just look at the top 10 companies today, whether it's Alphabet, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, all new era, new technology companies. A lot of stalwarts of yesterday have dropped off this list. Some of the recent companies, like General Electric, are a case in point. Along the way, you could talk of Kodak, you could talk of Xerox, you could talk of a lot of other companies who were very big in their day that have dropped off this list. What does this mean for us? What is the implication and why is this happening? Basically, what we have is in the 20th century, we've had an era of dramatic change, and I'm rounding off dates to make a point, but in the 20th century, arguably, we saw more innovation than the few thousand years before that. Before that, you had fire, agriculture, and the wheel as huge innovations in human lifestyle and business. In the 20th century, and I know it started already in the 18th century, I'm just taking a liberty here. In the 20th century, you had railways, you had cars, you had planes, you had rocket ships, you had telephone, you had television, and all of a sudden the world was a much smaller place than it used to be. And along the way, this rate of change has accelerated as we have gone through the 20th century, accelerating into this century, in the 21st century. 21st century, today we can't imagine life without the internet. We can't imagine life without live streaming, without Facebook, without the smartphone, and yet almost none of these existed 20 years ago. The technologies were just getting started, and today they dominate business, industry, and our lives. One of the questions we often ask people is how many people actually go to bed with their smartphones? And turns out worldwide that number is something like above 80% of people go to bed with their smartphones. And in the mornings when they wake up, the first thing they do is they pull out the smartphone and they look at the messages and it's hello darling, hello my precious over here, before you turn to the darling on the other side of the bed and talk about whatever. So this is a fundamental change in human behavior that is accelerating as technology gathers pace. In 1998 or 1997, there were mobile phones around, and the world's biggest mobile phone company was Motorola, more than 50% global market share. Technology changed, a disruptor came on the market. Nokia was the disruptor. They disrupted, and within 12 months they became global market leader. Their market leadership as they expanded was incredibly strong. But 10 years later, they had lost that position to the smartphone innovation that came in with Apple, with Samsung, and with Android phones. It's interesting that, in fact, the smartphone was probably already invented by Nokia, but they failed to realize the significance of what this could do. Whereas competitors actually took that to completely create a new paradigm for the mobile phone business. Go earlier in the 20th century, the company that invented photography, Kodak, they also invented the digital camera in the late 1970s. Along the way, they figured out that digital photography was not something that could be profitable, so they went back to try to focus on their core paper business. I teach this in more detail in some of my classes and cases. And in 2008, Kodak had all but disappeared as a company. Today, people do make money from digital photography, but it's people who are able to store your photographs in the cloud or help you edit the photographs or do stuff like that, or high-end photography and printing, weddings and albums and people and stuff like that. So there is dramatic change happening, and arguably the first 20 years of this century have seen more technological change than the 100 years of the previous century. Now, the one learning we have from the work of Charles Darwin in natural history, dinosaurs went extinct. Why? If you would ask a dinosaur to pick the characteristics that would make for a successful species, they would have picked size, strength, speed, and ferociousness. Well, when there was a big asteroid impact on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and all of a sudden there was climate change, the dinosaurs couldn't adapt and they eventually died out. And there was this new species of mammals that came up and started to spread all over the world. So the key learning for business is this: when there is dramatic change happening in the environment around you, the winners are not the biggest, it's not the strongest, it's not the richest. The winners are those companies who are most adaptable to change. So one of the key mantras today is very simply change or die. When I started working in 1980, the mantra was, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Well, today it's different. Today the mantra is, if it ain't broken, there's somebody else out there who's trying to figure out a way to break your business model. So you better be the first one to figure out so you can capture the value created by the new business model. Typically in business, you have a phase of value creation through innovation, then you have a phase of value capture as you scale up your innovation, and eventually as companies decline and die, as brands are sold, there's a different phase of value capture in the divestiture and closure of businesses. This cycle, however, is getting faster and faster as we go forward into the future. So one of the most important skills that we need to build in our companies is adaptability. Change or die. How do you build an adaptable learning culture and organization that is able to let go of the past and embrace the future when needed? At the same time, this learning also applies to individuals. Even as individuals, we live in an era of dramatic change. Okay? A lot of factory level jobs, blue collar jobs, are getting roboticized because robots, they don't sleep, they don't make mistakes, and they don't have any demands. And they're incredibly accurate at doing repetitive work. And as they get more sophisticated, this trend will only accelerate. Even white-collar jobs. If a job can be defined by a set of 25 rules and sent down a wire to a BPOs in a different part of the world, then it's equally possible to design a computer program, a software bot to actually do this job. So a lot of jobs are also going to get automated and are going to get changed to being done by robots or by computers. This is even before the advent of artificial intelligence, which everybody is so fond of talking about. So what does it mean for people? Will there still be jobs for people? Yes, but the jobs will be different kinds of jobs. And that's where, even as individuals, we have to learn to be adaptable. So the lesson is the same, whether you're a company or you're an individual. It's adapt or die, change or die. And how do you walk this balance of preserving your skills and current business while you develop new businesses? That's a fascinating question, and we're going to talk about that in the next video. Thank you for being here. And if you like what you heard, if you like this provocation and the key learning, change or die, adapt or die, please click like. Please subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and business contacts. Stay tuned.